Right guys, we're here at Sim Formula Expo 2026. We've got Simucube. You're now Simucube. You
I'm
are
now Simucube. I'm Colin from Simucube. Hi.
One of the big problems in sim racing at the moment, if you have lots of different sim racing devices,
Yes.
every single device has its own USB cable that you have to plug in to end up with, in my case, like a 12-port, 15-port USB hub, right? And you notice if your USB hub breaks or disconnects, all your stuff breaks, or your USB can just be a bit flaky. So you guys, to sort of solve that issue partially, you have this Link Hub. The idea is that you have one USB plug, you plug this in, and people, in theory, will be able to plug their devices using it's RJ45.
Yeah, RJ45.
And then TCP/IP.
Yeah, like then you can have like any Ethernet switch.
Yeah.
With basically it can be with as many ports as needed at like in the optimal situation.
So you plug this into your PC as a USB device, and then this could go into a switch, and then as long as people are using the same standard, those other devices could plug into that instead of USB. So in theory, this should make it possible that all your sim racing devices could plug into a much more stable connection method.
Yes. We are kind of trying to solve the problem of sim racer here, and not really like create more problems for everybody else, and make it as unified as possible in the long run. And that comes all to the reliability, as you mentioned, the USB ports. It's kind of so at the start still. So we are talking about Simucube Link platform, kind of like here. And what we discussed here was like showing up that what it can really do and what it should do for sim racing in the longer run. And what we are aiming to do with that is to also make it clear that now that we launched Simucube 3, and already Active Pedal was using Simucube Link Hub as the connection to the PC. We now want to make it more clear that because it seems like a closed ecosystem at the moment, and that's not the case in the longer run, but it seems like that because there's only a couple of products from us at the moment there, and we have some wheels coming. For example, Bavarian SimTech is making a wheel that works straight with the new quick release of Simucube 3 with the screen and the data and the power going through there. And just quickly what we discussed in the presentation, because people behind the camera most likely haven't seen it, was that we want to create something unified for people, for sim racers to use and to have more reliability in their driving, in their enjoying the sims, and also for businesses that use sim rigs as their main tools of earning, for example, in like these lounges and all this, so that we want to make something that they don't need to be fixing the rigs all the time or troubleshooting the rigs all the time, so that it will be more reliable system in the end. And the goal is to also get more people and more companies to this. So we don't want to keep it to ourselves. We just want to keep the quality of it. And of course, it's a long project. This is not like this is happening in a year or two, or maybe even 5 years. It's a long time on this one.
Now, I think what a lot of people will say is, well, first of all, obviously, pre-existing devices, most of them are just USB, so they're not going to work with it. They wouldn't have the ports, and they haven't done the partnership.
Yeah, at least at the moment, yeah.
That will raise the sort of question that people say, why would other companies want to go with your system and this hub system rather than some other type of solution, or why, if your goal is for everyone to use this really great idea to reduce the USBs, why wouldn't you guys create maybe like a piece of software or some solution that can just work immediately through TCP/IP or through hubs?
I have to say that I'm too much of a commercial guy to answer the TC, the one that you used. So I'm not fully
just networking.
Yeah, networking. Yeah, I understand your point with that. That why would everybody want to use our system? And I know it, when you put it like that, it sounds very like that we rule and all that. But it's more like creating the kind of a standard, so that we are kind of trying to solve the problem of sim racer here, and not really like create more problems for everybody else, and make it as unified as possible in the long run. And that comes all to the reliability, as you mentioned, the USB ports and.
I mean, obviously your equipment since the Simucube 3, the Active Pedals already work with it.
Yeah.
But with other companies, is it something that they have to they have to reach out to you, and there will be is it a licensing agreement? Is it something?
It's a bit like details are still open because it's a new like system. But like of course we can be reached, or we are also reaching companies with this one, and it's because we are very at the start. But it's like a bigger picture that we are showing at the moment, that because we feel that the biggest issue in sim racing at the moment is the unreliability. That we asked in our presentation that when have you gone to a rig and there has been something hasn't been working as you intended, or when you have set up your rig, and that's like the problem we want to cover up, and we know very well that that's not something we can do alone, and that's not something we try to do alone, and that's why we are aiming to get more people on board and like get it like more like viable for everybody, and that's why the details are open still. But like we are open to discuss with basically anyone about this. And
okay. And would there be a possibility for other companies to do this? The link box, is the actual this part of things open as well, so someone could create their own without having to go through the Simucube?
That's a very good question. I have to say that I don't have a straight answer for that. Then we for sure would have engineers who know more about that system. Yep. And well, I would say that we are open on that subject, and we are not trying to close it. But it's much from the software that is run by this device at the moment, at least.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
I'm grilling him, guys.
Yeah, no worries,
so,
of course.
Yeah, no. So I think because if you're in the sim racing space with racing simulators, this sort of solution is really quite novel in the sim racing space. But if you've been around or seen commercial flight sim and commercial simulation space, using sending force feedback information and data over a network and through network hubs has been for decades. It's been a way of doing it. Way better for reducing electromagnetic interference. More data can be sent through. Presumably as well, compared to USB, lower latency as well as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
But then, so another interesting thing to grill you on here. Would the idea be that if someone has licenses and another manufacturer's using this, you're thinking it's not just wheel rims, it's wheelbases?
For sure, yeah. That's what I would say. Okay. That like we are more talking about the API of the system that we are having here in software, and then keeping that open. And like the only thing is that like maybe do some kind of moderation on that, what the wheelbase or that is, but I would say that we are open to discuss that as well. Like that's also one option.
So I think that another layer of complexity to this. I know you're really, I really appreciate you guys trying to simplify things and actually move things forwards, but it's very difficult with these types of standardization, where another layer of complexity is that would be the assumption from your end be that if someone's using the link with that device, the user on the computer would be using the Simucube API software to control everything.
Yes, exactly. So as you said, API. So that would mean also that could be either the Simucube tuner that it is now, or then like that layer to some other software. Okay,
so because I think there'll be a lot of sim racing companies like wheel manufacturers or base manufacturers where they have their own, all the stuff where you do all your settings for your forcing back strength, wheel rotation, and they've obviously built a lot of branding around that and how they do that. So I can imagine it'd be quite hard to convince them for their equipment to then be like, oh yeah, you buy our wheel, you buy a base, but then you're going to use the Simucube stuff. Yeah, that's very tricky.
Totally like understandable like concern, and I would say that that's still to be kind of also found out that what would be the way to do it, because as you said, it might be very hard to convince the other companies like that. But that's like it's at this point, as we say, details are still very much to be like decided. But that's what we want to like emphasize, that we want to, as you said, make a more clear, more stable, and more straightforward. Because at the moment, I feel that many people might find our system like hard to jump into with the Link Hub. I think that's also a case, even though many people also understand it. But like then maybe the reason that why do I need this extra box, and that's maybe what we are trying to here explain also, that this is like part of making it more easy to understand, even though it's at the moment maybe harder to understand. But it's kind of like with the time, with the information coming, with more like teaching coming about this and all that. So I hope that like explains kind of the way of doing here.
Yeah, no, so I think also as well, I think where this sort of stuff is quite interesting is obviously with a lot of wheelbases, you plug it into USB and it uses the direct input and the basic force feedback stuff. Where I think this also comes more into play is when you have wheelbases that want to take advantage of the more advanced telemetry features.
Yes.
And if you guys can set up a more unified telemetry structure from the video game side, so developers, from a developer's perspective, all they have to do is implement the Simucube Hub or the Simucube API for how the telemetry is sent out. They can do that with one thing, then they'll know it'll work across the gamut of equipment.
Exactly.
Whereas at the moment, it's getting pretty crazy for developers with like True Force, Full Force. Then you have the stuff like the VNM has its own telemetry, the AccuForce wheels. So maybe having a sort of standard. What would be the price of this at the moment if someone buys this along with the Simucube equipment, or does it come with the equipment?
Yeah, with ActivePedal Ultimate it comes in a box, but otherwise it's made very clear at the website, but it's made clear that when you need it and when you don't. Basically, one simple rule is that if you have a rig, if you have one of these, you don't need more. It's always one per rig. Which you connect everything together. And at the moment, the price of this is 81 euros without the VAT, and it's included in all of those bundles that it's been there.
It's fundamentally, it's early days. You guys are trying to put something solid in there that simplifies things, connects everything together, and hopefully things open up more into the future, and hopefully you have a more simplified way to connect everything together that is a little bit more robust than a billion USB cables.
Yeah, exactly. And still very complicated, but we hope it will be much more easier to understand in the future.
I'm going to have to grill you on something else here. This is the hot seat. So,
I'm ready.
Sorry about this, but I have to. We've got to do the job here. Simucube 3 wheelbase. It has telemetry options in it for, I think it has like a seat of the pants, yaw option. So when the car's rotating in the game, it sends a counter steer, I think, as an option.
Yeah, there's like there's kind of like different layers of creating effects in the wheelbase, depending how much customer wants to.
However, that at the moment, those are not on the Simucube 2 or the Simucube 1.
Yeah,
but as far as I can understand, from a technical reason, there's no real reason why the software, the Simucube 2 and the Simucube 1 couldn't do that. Is that going to move across those older wheelbases?
We have a lot of those requests for sure. We are seeing them. We are hearing this. I think our software team is currently like discussing about that how is that being done, and is it like possible? As said, I'm a sales guy, so I don't have all the technical details. But for sure, we are seeing the questions, and that's kind of on the table for a team. At how it will be done, if it can be done. So that's best I can give you at the moment.
I definitely feel like from my community and what I see online, I feel so the Simucube 2 and even the older set, all of it's always at such a high level. I think it's a difficult thing for companies when they produce good products. I mean, housing build have this issue, they're sprint pedals. It's like, what else you need? Having that support on those older equipment, so you know when you buy it, you know that you're not going to be left. It's not sort of like, it's not planned obsolescence, but it's kind of like a forced obsolescence that companies can do, where they're like, oh, the new thing has this new feature that the old thing doesn't, even though the old thing could probably do it. But,
But as I said, we have heard that, and it's being discussed back in Tampere, there in Finland. So awesome. I'm gonna let the wiser people choose on that.
We're putting the pressure on them, guys. But no, that's really cool. Like, I think this is a really nice idea, as I say, something that in the flight sim industry, the idea of using networking to connect stuff together is a standard, basically. And it's really weird that it's not happened sooner in sim racing. I think your company's a good company to be leading the way with this, with the reputation you've got. I hope this sort of thing takes off. I hope telemetry force feedback takes off more. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
For being grilled, the Gamer Muscle Grill. I think that's what we'll go with the title.
That's very good. Yeah.
There you go, guys. Thanks for watching this. Check out the Simucube website.
And follow us on socials as well.
Till the next one. Happy to do you. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.